Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back to do my initial analysis of the Steelers' Week 16 loss to the New York Jets, 16-10. The Steelers fall, unfortunately, to 8-7 on the year, and here is the playoff scenario that's really most pertinent to Steeler fans. Pittsburgh now is no longer in control of their own destiny, so they're going to have to be rooting for somebody else in Week 17, but first things first, of course, Pittsburgh has to beat the Baltimore Ravens in Week 17 to even have a chance in this thing and even have rooting interest in other teams. Other stadiums matter. Ravens are expected to probably sit some of their starters, including quarterback Lamar Jackson, and probably a couple other key guys as well. So Steelers have to beat Baltimore. That's step one. Step two is Houston must beat the Tennessee Titans. If both Pittsburgh and Tennessee lose, Pittsburgh won't make it. If they both win, Tennessee's going to make it by, I think, they'll have the same conference record. I think Tennessee gets in by a strength of victory advantage over the Steelers. So that's how that one goes. Pittsburgh's got to win, and Houston's got to beat Tennessee. If that scenario doesn't play out, Steelers aren't getting in. If they both lose, I think Tennessee could still technically not make it if 17 other things happen. That's not the point. If you're a Steelers fan, that's not what you're focusing on. But that's a scenario that's going to be in play for the team Week 17 to the Week 16 loss, and why that scenario now matters, and it's no longer a win and you're in scenario. Again, it's the same story. I mean, I feel like I just come on these videos and with my initial analysis and say the exact same thing basically every week, where the offense just can't get out of its own way. You can't turn the football over. That's the only mission this offense has. It's just to not turn the football over. Do not self-destruct. If you avoid that, even if you're still bad, you're probably going to win most of these games over these last six, but they just can't do it. 2 turnovers from Duck to get Simple. That's what got Rudolph benched initially. It's going to be the same story with Duck, so I had no problem with that. Thought Rudolph actually looked good and was decisive, with good velocity, and was basically responsible for the 10 points on the board Pittsburgh could muster against the Jets defense. So that was the right decision. And again, just the second interception by Duck, where you take points off your own board, you're probably going to get at least a field goal out of that. That one's a killer. And that's exactly what happened to Rudolph, where he threw a pick against the Bengals that was, in a red zone, points. You're going to get points kind of territory. And that's the stuff that really kills you beyond just, any turnover that hurts you. One that directly takes points off your own board. Happened last week at the end of the first half against Buffalo with the Wildcat disaster. You guys know the story there. So at this point, the Steelers have thrown more interceptions this year than they have passing touchdowns. I'm not sure when the last time that's happened. It has been more than a decade, at the very least, in my very initial research. I'll have a stat on that a little bit later on. But, the quarterback play just has not been good enough. And again, even if you were a below-average offense, if you didn't turn the football over, I think you could manage. You could win these games like today against the Jets. Can't do that until you lose, and so that one is just a gut punch. Couldn't run the ball effectively enough. Obviously, James Conner gets hurt. It's the same story. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over. You could copy and paste what I said in virtually any loss this season and probably apply it to what happened today against the Jets. At least it's not the shoulder, it's a thigh, but his status is up in the air. Rudolph left with a left shoulder injury. He's going to get an MRI. His status is unknown, so who knows who your quarterback's going to be in Week 17. I think most fans will say it doesn't even matter. Probably fairly right about that. I thought the pass protection needed to be better. It was a little better in some spots, but look at the first pick by Hodges. There's inside linebacker and DB pressure again. Adams is coming in free, forces a hurry throw. The away side linebacker drop and Basham picks it off, and Hodges throws it right to him. And that's the same stuff the Bills did last week, and just didn't feel like it was corrected consistently enough. And a lot of miscommunication. It didn't look like Ramon Foster had a good game. BJ Finney coming in for Pouncey. You have the first snap, I think, of the game. Rudolph steps on his foot, or Finney probably steps on Rudolph's foot to be more accurate about it. And then the bad snap later in the game. It's just a mess. The offense cannot get out of its own way, and that's the bottom line in this thing. And I had the stat on Twitter: the Steelers' defense has allowed 21 or fewer points in 6 straight games, 17 or fewer points in 5 straight games, and they're 3-3 over that span. How does that happen? Just absurd. Just absurdly bad. So that's been the story. When you look back on this year, it's all about the offensive struggles. Yeah, the defense, they could have tightened up in some areas. Run defense wasn't quite as crisp as I would have liked to be. The pass rush has been too far and few between the last 2 weeks. They have 3 sacks over their last 2 games, which for the coming into this day, the league leader in sacks as a defense. That's not good enough. Donald's not a particularly mobile quarterback. Some missed chances today, giving up a touchdown on the first possession of the game. I mean, to put yourself in a 7-0 hole early and then 10-0, I think in the first quarter, that's not good. But at the end of the day, you allowed 16 points to the Jets. I mean, your offense has to be able to work with that. So that's just not good enough. Again, you circled back to the offense. Special teams, Boz hit him 49. That was good. He's had an excellent year, probably one of the best bounce back seasons ever for a kicker that had the type of year that he had in 2018. But from there, some penalties. Benny Snell's encroachment. Luckily, he didn't hurt the team. They get a punt right after that, but that's just careless. Although, I mean, again, I think it's fair to point out the long snapper for the Jets bobbed his head the way the candidate did last week, and candidate gets flagged for, and the Jets don't. So go figure there. Then Barry, I think 2 bad weeks back to back. I thought he had a good year prior to this last 2-week stretch, and it's really waned at the end of the year, which is unfortunate for him and of course the team. But yeah, it's just been a mess. So go back to the offense. You circle them as the issue. I mean, obviously, you could say the defense has to make some more plays in certain areas, and sure, that's accurate. But the offense just can't do anything. I mean, their whole mission is just don't turn the football over, and they can't avoid that. I think it's 22 straight games with a turnover now. I mean, that's just bordering on historically bad for this franchise. And again, that's the only mission. Just take care of the football, secure it, don't beat yourselves. You got a great defense, and they can't do that. So it's not mystical at all. Juju didn't play well. He's playing through pain. Obviously, didn't look like himself. But it starts with the quarterback play. Again, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be for Week 17. I think it's fair to really ask, will it matter? I think if Rudolph's healthy, he's probably going to start, but we got to check on his health first. That's my guess and my read of the situation. Connor's banged up. Pouncey, that looks pretty bad. I'd be pretty surprised if Pouncey played Week 17, and if this team somehow makes it in the playoffs, I think even then a wildcard game would be a question. That left knee injury looked not good is my professional, not a doctor, diagnosis. So, I mean, it's just walking wounded, and it's compounding an offense that's already struggling more than almost any other in football. So I don't really have a whole lot else to add. I'm sure there's a bench session to be had in the comments, which is fair and fine. I'll try to respond to them as best I can. And again, we'll just see what happens with the injury situation. And again, your scenario for Week 17, beat the Ravens, Houston beats Tennessee, then the Steelers become the 6th seed in the wild card race in the playoffs. So that's your scenario. Will it happen? Obviously, I think confidence is low right now, as it should be. But that's a scenario. It is possible. I mean, it's not certainly a 0% chance. It may only be a 33% chance. I'm sure some fans are saying maybe a 1% chance. I think it's a little higher than that. But that is a scenario. So we'll keep you posted. We'll review this week, see what went wrong. I'm sure a lot of it did. That's how you get the outcome that you did. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you're watching on YouTube, follow me on Steelers Depot, or follow me on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.